The other big story here, of course, Daniel Cormier not fighting in less than 2 weeks at UFC 206. An unfortunate turn of events. He is kind enough to join us right now, I do believe via the magic of Skype or phone. He is on the phone. Mr. Cormier, are you there?
Oh, yes, cell phone. You guys tried to Skype me, but I'm actually not home, so can't use Skype. Don't want to burn that data. I'm not fighting, so don't want to run up the bill.
I appreciate you coming on nonetheless, Daniel. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about. First things first, what happened?
So, last few weeks I've been having this issue with my right leg. Like every time it was isolated, I couldn't lift it. So I adjusted my training and started just kind of boxing, which when you think about it in a fight with Athony Johnson is probably not your best course of action. So about 2 weeks ago, I went to wrestling practice and I was like, man, it's really starting to bother me more. So then I wasn't able to run anymore. Like, I do a lot of running when I'm having to bring my weight down and everything. So on last Monday, I woke up, hit pads, and then ran. And on Tuesday, after wrestling, Tuesday evening, I went to run, and I could not run. And then Thursday, I went to do jiu-jitsu, and at that point, like my right leg, we were doing back drills, and I was grappling with Kanan, and I was having to actually pick up my right leg with my hand to put it inside of to put my leg in before I could even start to grapple, because my right leg had no power when it was isolated to actually be lifted. So that last week of training was kind of tough, and I was like, man, this is really getting worse. And then Tuesday, after wrestling practice, I had my physical, and I went to the doctors, and I did my basic physical, and then he told me to lay back on the table. And when I went to lay back on the table, I laid down, and he was like, okay, get up. Because you know how to hit your knee with the thing. It's like a little hammer thing. It makes your leg kick up. Then he was like, okay, get up. And then when I was getting up, and I couldn't get, just come straight up. I had to kind of turn sideways, pull myself forward in order to get back to my sitting position. And he was like, well, what's going on? I was like, yeah, I kind of got this pain in my side. And he was like, well, maybe you have a hernia. He said we should get it checked out. So I went to this doctor that specializes in hernia, and he was like, well, you don't have a hernia. This was last Wednesday. And he goes, but something's going on, so we need to get an MRI. And once I got the MRI, they told me I had torn my adductor tendon, which is essentially a torn groin. So he was like, I don't, you can't fight with that. You're going to have to get it repaired.
Oh. And when you say repair, does that mean surgery?
Yeah, there are 1, 2. So we have two options. And this is honestly from the doctor, and then probably the person that's most knowledgeable in the area was Dominic Cruz. He called me, and once I told him the injury, he had it before. So he said that for him, he just rested. He said that's what he tore in between his 2 knee surgeries. He said he just rested. But doctor told me that they can reattach the ligament to the bone, or we could do PRP, or stem cells, or just rest. But just rest would be way too much time for me, because I would like to get back and fight sooner rather than later.
So have you decided you're going to go with the PRP?
It's tomorrow. I still haven't. The doctor's been calling me. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'll let you know in the afternoon. But my thought was, if I'm not going to be able to fight, I need to do this surgery and get it done. But he's like, well, we have some ways that is less invasive, and if you want to try that, I'm like, well, what if it doesn't work and then I have to sit out longer and then eventually end up getting the surgery? So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird deal, because I always try not to have surgery. That's kind of my thing. I'll do whatever I can to not go under the knife. So I've got some decisions to make. And so did they tell you, okay, if you have the surgery, you're out for X amount of time. If you go the other route, you're out for X amount of time. Do you know the breakdown? They told me, yeah, he told me that the recovery is pretty standard in terms of rest and recovery would be like 5 months or so, just resting on it. He said that if I did the stem cells and PRP, he said you may be able to get back a little bit earlier. He said, but surgery recovery would be about 8 weeks, so about 2 months. And I told him that I would like the fastest way back to the octagon, and he said in all situations, he said, if you're doing a 6 to 8 week training camp, he goes, I can see you back in 4 months. So it's kind of taking that as the timeline for when I can actually get back to fighting.
Have you ever suffered this kind of injury before?
No, which is very odd because I've had a couple things happen this year that are very, they're not like very common things. I guess this is more common than the one I had back in April, but it's just these things that are happening that it just they suck, and I just try to work hard, and then I keep kind of hurting myself because of the work, and it's not and it's really not anybody but me, I got my coaches telling me stuff like, well, maybe you should take a day, or why are you training 3 times a day? And I'm just like, I feel if I don't prepare in the ways that I've always prepared in, I don't know if I'll be able to compete to the best of my ability. So kind of sucks.
Okay, so we'll get to that point in a second, but I'm just curious, we talked and you talked about this as well when it was announced. You said, look, I'd love to have GSP on this card because that helps me. It's big. And I have to think that, if this happens, unfortunately, you get injured, GSP still on the card, they don't have to go through this whole featherweight shakeup and do all this craziness because everyone's excited about GSP as well. But, they stacked the deck at 205. There's less for you guys to deal with at 206. Considering that, what was the UFC's reaction when you told them that unfortunately you had to pull out? How did they react to it?
Man, the crazy thing is when I called Dana and I said, hey, I hate that I'm making this phone call to you. He was at a movie with his family, and we talked, and I was kind of worried, because this is the second time that I've had to pull out of a fight this year. Mm-hmm. But I got no like backlash. I got nothing. He goes, look, I understand you want to fight. He goes, nobody likes fighting. He said, nobody likes it like you do. He goes, I know you love the competition. He goes, you've always been a great to have. And he goes, I understand. He goes, we'll figure it out. Because I said I was sorry. And he goes, don't apologize. These things happen. We'll try to figure it out. And he just kind of told me, thanks for being such a great part of the team. And when it's time, I'll get back to work. But take care of myself. Get healthy, and then we'll get back to work. They'll reschedule me, So it was very. I've always had pleasant interactions with the UFC, and I think maybe it's from just kind of always just doing things, for myself, obviously, but also with the for the company. So I really got no pushback.
Okay, and so then you find out that they're considering doing an interim light heavyweight title fight between Mousasi and Rumble Johnson. And so this is a two-part. A, what was your reaction when you found out that was being discussed? And B, what was your reaction when you found out that Rumble turned it down and is going to wait for you?
When I heard that they were going to do the interim title, it didn't really matter to me. I don't really care all that much. It seems like now, those interim titles are being thrown all around, like if the situation fits, let's make an interim championship fight, so that didn't bother me. I actually tried to reach out to Rumble and apologize to him about not being able to fight. I said he said he wasn't fighting, and I actually said I thought that he should fight. If that was me, I would have said fight, so that when him and I would compete against each other, he would actually be in on the pay-per-view side of it, So, but he said he was waiting. He said that interim titles mean nothing to him, and he wanted to wait. So that didn't really affect me either way. And Rumble just wanting to wait. Good for him. I guess he wants to fight just me. I'm the last guy to beat him, so maybe he just doesn't want to risk anything outside of fighting me.
Do you think he's making a mistake? Because as you said, if you have the belt, you get more money. So why not just take the fight so that you can get more money?
I kind of thought he should fight because honestly, man, like I don't think anybody is going to beat him. I think Gegard Mousasi's on a fantastic roll, but I think Anthony would have still beat him. But what do I know? You know, I'm not Anthony.
Yeah.
Last time Anthony did that and took a fight on short notice was against me.
Sure.
And look at what happened. So he may be thinking the same type of thing. I prepared for this guy for so long that I'm not going to chance it by fighting another guy. Because once again, you know, complete style change from a guy that's a wrestler to Mousasi, who's a Dutch-style kickboxer. You know, maybe he hadn't prepared for that type of fighting style. So who am I to actually say that he's making a mistake?
Fair enough. And so, okay, so now you have this situation where, once again, AK, Javier Mendez, you guys are being blamed. You're saying, and the people are saying, like, look, you're training too hard. We don't know what the hell you're doing because none of us are in the gym, but you're still being blamed. We're not chalking it up to bad luck. We're just saying you guys are, once again, this sort of label that the UFC put on you guys is sticking, and it's hard to wash off. And I know it bothers Javier Mendez. Luke just pulled out, Luke Rockhold, and now you know what happened to you. How do you respond to this? Is it time to change something, or is this just bad luck?
They've made changes. You know, guys have made changes. You know, Luke got hurt. Luke was hurt before he fought Michael Bisping, and look at what happened. And then Luke kicked me. And I swear, it was just like a partially checked kick, but like where he hit my part of my elbow and part of my shin. It wasn't a big deal, but he felt himself like, man, I'm still hurt. He was still hurt. Like, that could happen to anyone at any time. And in my situation, it's like, I'm going to train. Like, it's like, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. Ariel, I promise you, when I fought the last fight, Kane and I made some changes to our training, and it worked great for Kane. He looked fantastic against Travis Brown. But for me, I felt a little bit off. Like, I felt like I didn't do as much as I needed to do, and it really messed with me mentally. So now I spar a lot, you know, and I run a lot, and I train a lot. And it's the only way that I feel secure in my own mind. It's like the biggest part of competition is knowing that I've done enough to fight, and it's scary when it's the other way. I fought Anderson Silva, and I was in the back, like I was worried. I was like, man, did I run enough? Did I put enough miles in? Did I spar enough rounds? And you don't want to be questioning yourself. I was supposed to be John Jones. I actually had changed up my training situation, scared to get hurt before I was going to fight John Jones. It was a huge mistake, and I didn't like it. So I'm going to go back to doing what I do, and I'm going to train as hard as I can and hope that I can make it to these fights, man. Train and work and just be prepared. It's not Javier's fault. Javier, this isn't college. We're not high school athletes. Javier can tell me not to spar, and I'll say, yeah, sure, Jav, and I'll go spar. What's he going to do? I'm going to do what I want to do. It's like I'm an adult. Like, all of us are adults. The decisions are made by us, and I'm the reason that I got hurt. I don't know why, but if I did too much, then I did too much. It wasn't Javier Mendez or Bob Cook. People always get confused, man. They talk about coaches. The reality is these coaches and these managers that everybody think are in so much in control, they work for us. They're our employees. So at the end of the day, they have to do what we feel is best for us, and all they can do is give input. And I was ready to go. I was really ready to fight this guy, and I was in shape. I was good to go. But the decisions are mine, and I if I got hurt, it was my fault.
Because this happens, is it hard to prepare for the toughest athletic endeavor in the world, like getting in a cage with another human being who's trying to knock your head off? With this on your mind, you can't just focus on the task at hand. You can't focus on the fight. Are you thinking also like, man, I can't get injured. I just can't get injured. There's too much at stake. There's too much money, because you don't get paid for the training camp, right? Like, Anthony Johnson is not going to get any money. You're not getting any money. It's so much riding on like 25 minutes. You just have to get there. Is that a hard thing to balance?
Well, you have to get there, but you have to get there and be ready to win. I don't want to just show up. I want to win. Like, I don't want to just be there.
Right.
I don't want to just be a part of the show. I want to win, man. And So, yeah, I have to prepare myself to win. But you're right. Don't get injured. But how can you train if you're constantly worried about not getting injured? Guys play basketball and get hurt.
Sure.
And that's probably the easiest sport on the planet, in the planet. We actually are in there fighting every day. We're wrestling, we're grappling. How can you make sure you don't get hurt? Guys get hurt playing basketball. Guys get hurt playing baseball. You're hitting a baseball and people get hurt. So it's unfair to think that we could do what we do with the intensity that we do it and injuries not happen.
You don't need my sympathy, but I sympathize with you because I feel like people are now blaming you for Conor getting stripped. Are you getting that a lot? Are people saying and I said this at the top, I don't know if you heard, you were out. I said, the fact that Daniel Cormier's injury led to Conor McGregor getting stripped shows how big of a mistake it was to react this way on the UFC's part. Are you getting that? And regardless, what's your take now, putting the analyst hat on the decision to do this, what they've done in the featherweight division?
I don't know, man. I just to think about how ridiculous that is. My fault. Conor McGregor got stripped.
Right.
Reality is, I don't care. I don't care if they took his belt. I don't care if they take all of his stuff. What do I care?
Of course.
He really has no people. Conor's a great guy, but I really don't care what happens to him. I didn't say, well, I'm not going to fight so he can lose his belt.
Of course.
It doesn't matter to me. So it's like people saying, well, it's your fault.
Are you getting that?
Yeah.
Are you getting that?
I've seen some of that, the tweets and stuff like that. And Conor has very passionate fans.
Sure.
I can only do what I can only take care of myself and care about the people that I care about, and my teammates. I can't worry about the domino effect on a guy that lives in Ireland.
Oh, it's ridiculous to blame you. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's why I don't like to go ahead. Sorry.
So many people are look. And I say this constantly, if people don't like you, if they generally don't like you, they will find more reason to try and dislike you. It's just the way it is. So if it makes it easier to dislike me because I got hurt or because Conor McGregor lost one of his 2 belts, he's got 2 of them, lost one of his 2. We're all sitting over here with 1. He's got 2. So if that gives them another reason to dislike me, then they'll take it, So it's not my fault. I didn't say, well, those guys are fighting. Why not just play for a championship? I don't make those decisions.
Oh, no. And I hope you don't think that I was insinuating that. I was just saying.
No. I know what you're saying because I see it.
Yeah.
I actually see it. I actually got something on Twitter, and a guy was telling me that because I want to break Anthony's spirit, I was wrong. He's like, that's just ridiculous. I'm like, that is the only reason we fight.
Right. Is
to actually get over on another human being. It makes no sense. I'm dumbfounded at times. As
a fan, we used to do this thing called Fighter versus Writer. When you hear the UFC stripping him to make an interim title fight, and they strip, what do you make of that whole situation?
So it's the timing of it all, right? It's the timing of it all. That's for me what the issue is. If I was to challenge Stipe Miocic and say, okay, Rumble, now I'm not fighting you, I'm going to go fight Stipe, or actually I'm just going to go fight Junior Dos Santos a couple times, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to fight Stipe Miocic. And they go, well, you can't just hold 205. We're going to let Rumble and whoever else fight for the belt. I get it. But that didn't happen. What happened was, well, one guy fell out of a fight, so we need to find a way to make this other fight more important. That's the only issue.
Yep.
It's like if it would have been done on its own merit, no problem at all. But it was because of the way that it was done. And I think that's why people are kind of up in arms. But
the why and the how.
Conor did, yes. What Conor did is the most amazing athletic feat that I think I've ever seen. Nobody can do that. You don't do that. You don't win across 2-3 weight classes the way that he did and not be applauded for it. But it's done now. So either go back down and defend that belt or give it up. What is You can fight at 155. The guy's a sniper. He's got the death blow in his hand, in his left hand. He hits you, you fall down. So, I mean, he can do whatever he wants. You know, it's like this doesn't really affect him as much as it probably affects the fans more than it affects Conor at this point, because what's done is done. He is a 2-division champion. Like he said, the guy was not afraid to look like a fool if this didn't work out in the way that he said it would, but it did. So hats off to him.
What's the message to the Toronto fans, the ones who wanted to see you fight?
Yeah.
What's the message?
Yeah, man, that's probably the most heartbreaking thing out of this whole deal. You know, I feel for Rumble and I feel for the UFC, but the fans in Toronto is like, that's my biggest regret in this whole thing, because when people said it was a terrible fight card, thousands and thousands of tickets had still been sold at the pre-sale. They still went out in droves and bought tickets and said, you know what, regardless of if the outside world doesn't think this is a great fight card, it's an opportunity for us to watch some live fights in Toronto for the UFC, so we're buying tickets. And they did. You know, they were very supportive. Everybody's so nice. Look, it's true, man. People are just nicer in Canada.
Yes.
I would have loved to have performed for them, and I look forward to maybe one day doing it. So my apologies to the fans in Toronto, and thank you for really standing up. When everybody said, wow, Toronto really got screwed with a terrible fight card, you guys still went out there and bought a ton of tickets, and that place is going to be rocking and rolling come fight night. So great fans, great city, and 100,000 apologies, and hopefully at some point I can make it up to them.
Great fans, great city, great country as well, I might add. Last quick thing. So when do you expect to decide what you're going to do tomorrow, later on today?
I will today. Maybe I'll do it before your show's over.
Please.
Text message or something.
Please, that would be great.
I'm on the fence, but
Okay.
but I want to do what's quick. You know, I want to hopefully get back by, March, February, sometime in that area. That way I can fight then, and then if I fight Anthony in February, March, I can fight Ryan Bader in June or April. I'll fight him back to back.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like it. Daniel, appreciate it as always. So sorry to hear the news. I hope you feel better, make the right decision for you and your family. But as always, thank you for the time, and get well soon, my man.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right. There he is, the light heavyweight champion, Daniel Cormier. Very interesting times for him.